you are going to come across some different types of what you call the different terms you are going to come across at the time of solving the problems. Here, such important terms are, first one is I write actual royalty. ಬಹಳ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಇದೆ, try to understand, very simple aspect is there. Actual royalty. Next important term is minimum rent. Minimum rent. This is also called as dead rent. Dead rent. Next number third one is short workings. Short workings. Next one is recoupment of short workings. Recoupment of short workings. Next one is sometimes there may be a strike, therefore due to that reason we need to make some adjustments. Okay, let us try to understand how these what you call different what you call figures are to be calculated in solving the problem. I take one simple example. Assume that here Mr. X is the owner of the land. Okay, owner of the land, and what he does, he will enter into agreement with X company. Here X company is there. Here with the X company, what he does, he will enter into an agreement for what? Here X has his own land, and in that land minerals are there, coal is there. In order to extract such coal, he is authorizing to whom? To X company. Here X company is called as mining company. X company is called as mining company. It extracts the materials which is hidden beneath the surface of the earth. Then on the basis of the extraction, on the basis of the quantity what you call extracted, the company will make a certain sum of money to Mr. X. This is the example of mining royalty. Okay, fine. Here assume here Mr. X, he will put in the agreement that for every ton of coal raised or extracted from his land, the company has to pay rupees 100 to him. Assume rupees 100 is required to be given per ton of coal raised. ಏನು ಕಂಪನಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಲದ ಮಾಲೀಕ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಆ ಕಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಲನ್ನ ತೆಗೆಯುವ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಕಂಪನಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಅಧಿಕಾರವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಂಪನಿ ಏನ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇದೆ ಇಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅವನು ಎಕ್ಸ್, ಪ್ರತಿ ಟನ್ನಿಗೆ ಒಂದು 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿಯನ್ನ ತನಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾನೆ. ಓಕೆ ಫೈನ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಈಗ ಈ ಒಂದು ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಒಂದು 5 ವರ್ಷ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಭಾವಿಸೋಣ. ಹಿಯರ್ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ 5 years. Mr. X has authorized X company to extract the materials for a period of 5 years. Okay, here in these 5 years, whatever the output is extracted by the X company, that will be given in the problem. That you have to calculate how much amount of money is to be given to Mr. X as a royalty. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರು, ನಿಮಗೆ 5 ವರ್ಷದ ಒಪ್ಪಂದ ಇದ್ರೆ ಆ 5 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಗೆದಂತಹ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನಾವ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಬಹುಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಅ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಚಾರ್ಟ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಒಂದು ಟೇಬಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹೌ ಮಚ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಪೇಡ್ ಟು ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಬೈ ದ ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪನಿ. ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಂತ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಹಿಯರ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಪುಟ್ ದಟ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ showing the calculation of amount of royalty payable to whom? Here in this example, payable to X I put, payable to the landlord. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಲದ ಮಾಲೀಕನಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಎಂಬುದನ್ನ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ ಫೈನ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾಲಮ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದಾವೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಕಾಲ್ ಕಾಲಮ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಮ್ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ while preparing this table. Assume in the first what you call column, you have to write the year. Very simple thing is there, year. Assume the agreement took place in the year 2010. Next one is, this agreement is there for how many years? For 5 years. I put here 2011, 2012, 2013 and 2014. Means here the contract is there for 5 years from 2010 to 2014. Okay, next one is here output we have to write in the next what you call column. Output. Here output you have to write in tons because here this is the mining royalty. Here output you have to mention in tons. Sometimes in case of copyright royalty, what you have to write? Here number of books sold you have to put. Okay. That is why in case of a patent royalty, number of units manufactured and sold. That is why here output you have to write by looking to the nature of the royalty or nature of the asset. Here mining royalty is there, because of that reason here output I am writing in tons in the bracket. Assume in the 2010 the company has extracted 100 tons. How many tons? 100 tons. Next one is in 2011, assume 110 tons are extracted. Next one is here you take 200 tons are extracted. Here 250, here 300 tons are extracted. Here in order to make the calculation simple, I will take here rupees 10 per ton I am reducing the royalty. Here royalty per ton I am reducing to rupees 10 per ton. Okay, easy calculation will be there and you can easily understand it. Now, what is the next step in calculating the royalty? This is the output extracted by the mining company. I hope you understood. In the year 2010, 100 tons of minerals were extracted. In the year 2011, 110 tons were extracted. Next one is in the year 2012, 200 tons. Next one is in the year 2013, 250 tons. And in the year 2014, 300 tons of, iron ore or coal is extracted. Then after this, what you have to do is, you have to calculate the actual royalty. What is the meaning of actual royalty? Here actual royalty is the amount which we calculate on the basis of number of units or number of what you call the tons extracted. Here in this example, number of tons extracted is 100 in the first year and actual royalty comes to how much? Actual royalty. This is the amount of royalty which is to be paid actually. Actual royalty comes to how much? This one you have to put in rupees. For simple calculation, I have taken rupees 10 per ton. That is why 100 tons means here 1000 rupees. Okay. Next one is 110 in the sense 1100 rupees. Okay. Next one is 200 tons in the sense 2000 rupees it comes. Next one is here 2500 rupees. Here rupees 3000. Rupees 3000. What is this? On the basis of the number of units or number of tons extracted, the actual amount payable to the landlord as a royalty. How much? This is the actual royalty. This much is to be paid. Okay. Now, here in this case, in case of actual royalty, what you have to do is, you have to apply the rate to the output. Then you are going to get this one. This is called actual royalty. Actual royalty ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವನು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾನೆ, ಅವನು ಹೊಲದಿಂದ ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಯಾರು ಆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅವನು. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಕಂಪನಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ಟನ್ನಿಗೆ 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1100 ಬರುತ್ತೆ. 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ನಿಂತ ನಾವು ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ we get the product as 1000, 1100, 2000, 2500 and 3000. Very simple thing is there. This way you have to calculate the actual royalty. Okay. Now you see, when we compare this one, in the first year company extracted how many units? 100 units or 100 tons of minerals were extracted. But in the fifth year you see 300 tons were extracted. Why this difference is there? In which year the owner is going to get more income, more royalty? It is quite obvious that in the year 2014 the owner is going to get, Mr. X, the landlord is going to get more royalty. That is why in order to increase his income, what he does, he will put a kind of pressure on the part of the mining company that, see, every year you have to pay this much of money. He will fix the amount. Here it clearly shows that the mining company is not putting more efforts in the first year, in the year 2010, whereas in the fifth year, the more efforts it has output. Because of that reason, here the output is more. In case if the same output was raised in the first year, the income of the owner would have increased, right? But because of that reason, what the owner will do, he will fix the amount. See, you have to pay, I will take here, minimum rupees 2500 should be given to me every year as a minimum rent. What he will tell, minimum he is going to accept as his royalty. How much minimum amount? In this example, assume that rupees 2500 is to be given me as minimum rent ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ನನಗೆ ಇಂತಿಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ನೋಡಪ್ಪ 2500 ಅಂತ. ಈ 2500 ಗೆ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ರೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ ಡೆಡ್ ರೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಮೊದಲನೇ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? 1000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ದ ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಟು rupees how much? 1000. But here the landlord, Mr. X, is not going to accept rupees 1000 as his royalty. What he will do? He will demand minimum 2500. In case if the actual royalty is less than the minimum amount which is fixed by the owner, in that case the fixed amount should be given by the user of the right to the owner. That is why here actual royalty comes to rupees 1000. Here company will not pay rupees 1000 because here owner is not going to accept this 1000. That is why how much company has to pay? Company has to pay rupees 2500. Just to see here, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಬೇಕ್ರಿ company? 2500 is to be given because what the contract says, in case if the actual royalty is less than the minimum rent fixed by the owner, in that case minimum rent is to be given. That is why here minimum rent is more and actual royalty is less. Because of this reason, here the owner Mr. X is going to get rupees 2500 but not rupees 1000. ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರಬಹುದು ವಿಚಾರ, ಏನ್ ಸರ್ ಇದು 1000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಒಪ್ಪಂದದ ಪ್ರಕಾರ 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಪ್ರತಿ ಟನ್ನಿಗೆ 1000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ 2500 ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅವರು ಯಾಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪನಿಗೆ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ವಾ ಅಂತ. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಯು ಮೇ ಬಿ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಸಿ ಸರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಟು rupees 1000 and here the what you call owner is asking the company to pay rupees 2500. Is it not a loss for the mining company? Of course it is a loss to the mining company. But here this is called as minimum rent. But one thing you have to remember, dear students, here minimum rent amount is given only when the actual royalty is less than the minimum rent. Less than the minimum rent. This is the minimum amount, not the maximum. Maximum may be, I mean, what you call 10,000, 15,000, there is no limit for that. But the thing is here, minimum, the owner is going to accept this much of amount. Okay, in different problems, you come across different what you call minimum rent set by the owners. Okay, this is called as minimum. Not a very simple thing is that minimum rent. This is rupees 2500. Assume here also 2000. Every year minimum rent remains what? Same. 2500, 2500 and 2500. Okay, minimum rent remains same. Okay, that is why here no important thing is 1000 is the actual royalty, but the amount paid to the landlord, I mean to the landlord, is rupees 2500. 1500 is the excess amount which is to be paid, okay, extra from his pocket. By whom? By the company. ಕಂಪನಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದ್ರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪನಿ ತನ್ನ ಪಾಕೆಟ್ ಲಿಂತ್ರ 1500 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಹಾಕಿ 2500 ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು? ಮಾಲೀಕನಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1500 ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ 1500 is there. What is this 1500? Here the mining company is adding this amount in order to make up the deficiency. Here 2500 is the minimum rent, actual royalty comes to 1000. Therefore, in order to make up the deficiency, how much amount of money is required to be put by the company? Rupees 1500. Therefore, this 1500 is called as short working. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ? 1000 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2500 ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಲೀಕನಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡ್ಲಾಗ್ತದೆ? How much amount is given to the owner? 2500. That is why 1500 is called as deficit or short working ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ just I will put the next one. Here I write short workings. Short workings. Here in the short workings, first column is the deficit I put here. Deficit. Okay. Here a deficit is how much? In the first year, deficit is 1500. You see, 1000 actual royalty plus deficit will be equal to what? Minimum rent. That is, sometimes in the examination question may come, what do you mean by minimum rent? What you have to write? Minimum rent is nothing but the amount which is fixed by the owner to be paid by the user of the right in case if there is what you call less actual royalty. If the actual royalty is less than the minimum rent, in that case the deficit comes 1500. Okay, fine. Next one is, here you see minimum rent is how much? Rupees 2500, and 1100 is the actual royalty. Therefore here also deficit is there. How much deficit is there? 1400. 1400 plus actual royalty, it comes to rupees 2500. How much amount is given to the owner? 2500. Okay, now you see in the third year 2000 is there. 2000 is the actual royalty because 200 tons were extracted. The company is supposed to pay rupees how much? 200 into rupees 10 per ton, 2000. But here owner is not going to accept that amount. He is going to get how much? 2500 from the company. That is why here again company will pay rupees 500 from its pocket. It means company is paying rupees 500 extra. Here also deficit is there. Rupees how much? Rupees 500. Now this amount is called as deficit. This amount is called as deficit. Next you see in the fourth year 2500 is the actual royalty and minimum rent is also 2500. That is why here question of deficit doesn't arise. You have to put nil here. Next in the fifth year, here also actual royalty is more than the minimum rent. Therefore here also deficit won't come because actual royalty is more than the minimum rent. That is why here you don't write the deficit, because deficit won't come here. This is with regard to the short workings which are in deficit. Next one is, here you must be thinking, sir, this 1500 given to the owner in the first year and 1400 extra amount which is given in the second year and rupees 500 which is given in the third year, is it not a loss to the mining company? It is actually a loss in case if it is not recovered. If it is not recovered, what is the meaning of the recovery? Just you see, 1500 the extra amount which is given by the company can be recovered if there is a specific clause to this effect in the agreement. In the agreement, assume Mr. X has put a clause. He has put a condition that in case if the company extracts more minerals, if the actual royalty is more than the minimum rent, out of such excess royalties, the short workings which were given in the earlier years can be recovered ಅಂತ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅವನು ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. ಕಂಪನಿ ಅವನು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ನೋಡಿ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, 1500 1400 500 ಕಂಪನಿಯವರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ರಿಕವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ ಏನ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇಟ್ಟಿರಬಹುದು. ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಮಾಲೀಕ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರಿಗೆ? ಕಂಪನಿಯವನಿಗೆ. ಏನಂತ ನೋಡಿ, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ದು ಏನು ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನೀವು ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಡೆಫಿಸಿಟ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ರಿಕವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಡಬಹುದು. ಆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್. ಆ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಆ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಹಿಯರ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಮೇ ಸೇ ದಟ್, see the short workings I write here, short workings of the previous years or the earlier years. I put the better one, short workings of the earlier years can be recovered out of the excess royalty, excess royalty of the ensuing years or next years anta. Next yes, excess royalty of the next years. Assume here what the condition is put by the owner ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಏನಂತ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಹೇಳಿದಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನು ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ರಿಕವರ್ಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಮೇ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ದ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಇಯರ್ within the first 2 years, within the first what you call 3 years or next 2 years, like that he will put the condition. Here I am going to take here up to next what you call in the excess royalties. I am going to make certain changes here. Excess royalties of the first 5 years. First 5 years. I am going to put this one as first 5 years. What is this? Short workings of the early years can be recovered out of the excess royalties of the first 5 years. It means what? Here 5 years agreement is there. Okay, that may be renewed later. That is different issue. But here the thing is, up to 5 years, the company has got the right to extract the materials. And here in the first year, second year, and third year, company has paid the excess amount. But here this excess amount is actually lost to the company. But company has the right to recover this one as per the agreement, because agreement clearly shows that here the company can recover the excess royalties of the earlier years out of the, the deficit of the earlier years or the short workings of the earlier years out of the excess royalties of the next years. That is why here up to 5 years the time is there for the company to recover the short workings. That is why here short working, total amount of short working is how much? 2,900, 3,400 is the total short working of the what you call 3 years. But here in order to recover these short workings, time is there up to 5th year. Therefore 2014, this is the last year to recover the short workings. That is why what the company has to do, if company wants to recover the short workings, then what it has to do, it has to put what you call more efforts and try to extract more and more materials. Then it can recover the short workings out of the excess royalties. But only excess royalty is to be applied for the recovery of short workings. That you have to keep in mind. ನೀವೇನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಎಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಈ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ರಿಕವರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು. ಎಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್? ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ದನ್ ದ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ರೆಂಟ್. If it is more than minimum rent, whatever the extra amount comes, that is nothing but excess royalty. Okay, now look here. See, in the first year short working is there, in the second year short working is there, and in the third year also short working is there, and in the in the fourth year there is no excess royalty. There is no excess royalty. Excess royalty illa. Yake excess royalty illa? Actual royalty is equal to minimum rent. If actual royalty is more than minimum rent, that is called excess royalty. Adre illi enide, actual royalty and minimum rent both are same. That is why here question of excess royalty doesn't arise. Artha aita? Okay. Now in the 5th year, you see, actual royalty is 3,000, minimum rent is rupees 500. How much? Minimum rent is, here minimum rent is 2,500. Now 3,000 is the actual royalty, 2,500 is the minimum rent, and excess royalty is there. How much excess royalty is there? Rupees 500. What is excess royalty? Excess royalty means actual royalty minus minimum rent. If we minus it, 2,500, whatever amount we get, that is nothing but what? Rupees 500 is nothing but the excess royalty. This excess royalty can be used for the recovery of short workings of the earlier years. Okay, illi nodi, 500 rupees extra ide illi, 500 rupees. Actually, as per the agreement, how much amount is to be given? 3,000. Actually, the mining company has to pay rupees 3,000 to the landlord. But here what the landlord has done, landlord has given the chance to whom? To the company to earn more, and out of the excess what you call royalty, recover the short workings which were paid by the company. Adakagi in that case company will not what you call face the loss. But here you see the total short working is how much we calculated? 2,900, and 3,400 is the excess amount paid by the company. How much? 3,400. This is the loss actually. But in the 5th year, the company has got how much? Rupees 500 excess royalty. After paying minimum rent, how much amount remains here? 500 remains. This 500 can be used for the recovery of this short working. How much amount it can recover? To the maximum rupees 500. If rupees 500 is recovered, 2900 is called as irrecovered short workings, because here company, because of its negligence, because the company has not extracted more number of what you call minerals, because of that reason company is going to face this loss. In case if company had paid more attention in the what you call earlier years, this type of loss company would not have faced. That is why here the next important column which we are going to put here in this table is recovery column. What is this? Recovery column. Okay, up to 5 years, the chance is there to recover. See, in the first year, question of recovery doesn't arise because short working is there. In the second year also short working is there. In the third year also short working is there. Question of recovery doesn't arise. In the fourth year, actual royalty and minimum rent are both are same. That is why here also excess royalty is not there. Question of recovery doesn't arise. But here, see, instead of paying rupees 3000, company will pay only 2500 to the owner, and it recovers rupees how much? Rupees 500. Rupees 500. This you have to put in the recovery column. And whatever amount is not recovered, how much? 2900. That we have to put as irrecovered. Irrecovered how much? 2900. This is the net loss to the company. 2900 is the net loss to the company. Now, the last column is the amount of royalty payable. Amount payable to whom? To the ಓನರ್. ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಲಾರ್ಡ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. In the last column we have to mention the amount which is to be paid to whom? To the owner. Okay, in the first year you see how much amount do you pay? In the first year minimum 2500 is to be paid because 1000 is the actual royalty. Here owner is not going to accept that. That is why how much amount is to be paid? If actual royalty is less than the minimum rent will be paid. That is why here amount payable to landlord is rupees 2500. Got it? Next, in the second year also actual royalty is less than the minimum rent. That is why minimum rent is to be paid to the owner. Next, in the third year, here actual royalty is 2000 and minimum rent is 2500. Here also actual royalty is less, 2500 is to be given. In the fourth year, you see minimum rent and actual royalty same. That is why here also 2500 is to be given. And in the fourth year, actual royalty comes to 3000, but the company has recovered rupees 500. Whatever the previous loss it had occurred, for the payment of excess amount, that amount it has recovered only how much? Rupees 500. In case if this amount was more, the company would have recovered more amount. But here only 500 is there. See, instead of 3000, instead of 3000, if here 5000 was there, assume here 500 what you call units are extracted. That also I will give here. Try to understand here. Assume instead of 300 tons, in the fifth year company extracted 500 tons. 500 tons in the sense how much actual royalty comes? Here actual royalty comes to rupees how much? 5000 it comes. Minimum rent is how much? 2500. Out of 5000, if 2500 minimum rent is deducted, then whatever amount comes, that is nothing but what? Excess royalty. What is this? Excess royalty. Excess royalty. Total amount, see, short working, how much amount is there? Total amount 3400. Therefore, out of this 3400, company can recover easily 2500 here. 2500 is recovered means here what is the amount of loss suffered by the company in this situation? See, out of 3400, 2500 is recovered, then it comes to how much? 900 rupees will be the loss. Therefore, in the irrecovery column only you have to put how much rupees? 900. That is why here you come to know that if the actual royalty increases, then chances of recovering the short workings which were paid by the company, the chances will also be more. Chances of recovering the amount will be more. Here the actual amount to be paid to the landlord again rupees 2500. This is the way. See here in this example 2500 is coming, but in the other example we may get different figures. Try to understand. Here the owner may not give 5 years time for the recovery. Sometimes he may give only 2 years. Assume that in the first 2 years of the agreement, during the first 2 years of the agreement, short workings are to be recovered. In case if the short working is there in the first year, in the second year, it has to recover the amount. In case if it doesn't recover, that amount is called as irrecovered and lost to whom? To the mining company. Sometimes company may also mention that the short workings can be recovered out of the what you call excess royalties of the first 3 years. In that case, only first 3 years time will be there to the company to recover the short workings. But in this example, 5 years is there. Therefore, up to 5 years, chance is there for the company to recover the short workings. In this way, what you have to do, you have to prepare the royalty chart. And in the royalty chart, important columns are year, output, actual royalty, minimum rent. Next one is deficit column will be there. If recovered, you have to show in the recovery column. In case if it is not recovered within the agreed period of time, in that case the amount has to be mentioned in the irrecovery column. It is a loss to the user of the right, and whatever the amount payable to the landlord at the end of the year has to be mentioned in the last column. See, this is the way how you have to prepare the table showing the calculation of actual amount of royalty or the amount of royalty payable to the landlord or the owner of the right. This is the what you call the information about the royalty. In the next class, I am going to explain what are the journal entries and how the problems are solved. Just that part you are going to learn along with this table. Here table is required to be calculated every time. This table we have to put in every problem. Then once the table is ready, easily you can pass the journal entries and prepare the necessary accounts in the books of the company. That is why here if any doubt is there in understanding this one, the problem is very, what you call the topic is very simple, and in case if any doubt is there, then you can comment. Then better you have to send this video, share this video even to your friends so that they can also get the benefit of this. I hope you understood the concept. Thank you.